Welcome back to episode 277 of the Guy and Guns podcast. I'm your host, Troy.
And I'm your other host, Doug.
We use this podcast to talk about guy, guns, and responsible Christian gun owners' interest. On this week's show, we'll be interviewing Lance Mathena, President of the North American Association of Blind Sportsmen. First, we want to thank our bandwidth sponsor, the Oath Keeper TV. They're not a sponsor, but we thank them for rebroadcasting our show over there on all their social media and wherever Facebook lets them. Some of y'all know the Facebook took down a lot of Oath Keepers sites this last week. Also want to thank
Crossbreed Holsters. Hey, you heard us talk about it. If you're carrying a gun, you got one in your vehicle, your wife's got one in her purse, you got one next to your bed, or carry one on your body. Crossbreed makes a holster for you. Check them out. Crossbreedholsters.com. Carry the cross. Also, PowerTac lights. If you want a bright light, headlamps, gun lights, PowerTac has a light for you. They're high quality and lifetime warranty, and they give us a heck of a discount if you buy one through the show and use our promo code. Let's go check our buddies out at PowerTac.com.
Cool deal. So we're going to bring Lance in. He's waiting in the wings. He's in the green room, as it were.
The green
room. Actually, his room's not green. All right, Lance, we're bringing you. All right, Lance, welcome to the show. For those of us who have never heard of blind sportsmen, that you go hunting and fishing, sounds like a dangerous thing to do. But I was truly intrigued by your testimony and how this all came about. So tell us all about the blind. How do we go about it? The North American Association of Blind Sportsmen.
Okay. In order to do that, I need to tell you a little bit about my story.
Sure.
I was sitting in a college class 7 years ago, and I've been a college student most of my life. I just enjoyed the atmosphere and I enjoy learning. And I had two people sitting in front of me, so I turned my head to sneeze, and when I sneezed, I ruptured 4 discs in my neck, and I had to have surgery on that. A few days later, and they fused a good part of my neck, and unfortunately they didn't unfuse, or they didn't unpinch one of those nerves that was in my neck. So I spent the next year trying to keep my job and balance pain and everything else. I worked at Madigan Hospital for the Department of Defense. And a year later, I finally went and saw another surgeon, and he says, "Oh yeah, we can fix that, no problem. It's kind of a routine surgery." Well, during that surgery, he severed my left vertebral artery, which is up inside my neck. And at that point, I did what everybody does in that situation. I bled out and died. About 3 minutes later, they managed to get me going again, to get the blood pressure up enough for my heart to work. And what they didn't realize is that in trying to stop the bleeding, they had added some clotting agents, and they had created a blood clot that lodged in the back of my brain, and it caused a major stroke, and that stroke took most of my vision. I have about 3% of it left. It's in the bottom right corner of each eye.
Oh, wow.
But it is enough to see through a scope, I can tell you that much. And the last 3 racks on my wall can tell you that much too. But when I lost my vision, I went to the Orientation and Training Center in Seattle, which is a residential school for the newly blind. And they teach all your blind skills, like walking, believe it or not, dressing yourself, how to find out what color your clothes are, how to keep your socks together, all kinds of things like that, how to cook, all of your mobility skills, things like that. And then I came back down to my house after I graduated, and I thought, well, I'm going to get a job. I don't need to do anything. I just needed something to do, because we are human beings. We're born to work. We're born to do things.
Right.
And a 50-year-old man is a terrible thing to waste. So I couldn't just melt into the couch. So I put in more than 100 job applications all over the place.
Still with us?
It put that I was blind on my application. And the 3 interviews that I got were more out of pity than anything else. And I even offered to work for free for 6 months just to prove to them I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they still said no.
Wow.
So it kind of tore me up a little bit. Even the food bank here where I live in this little town didn't want me to volunteer. They just said, we don't have work for someone like you. And I said, well, I can sweep floors, or I can stack boxes, or I can do, a million other things. And he's like, no, we don't want you here. You're a liability.
Wow.
And so I went home and started doing some soul searching, and got on the internet and was looking around, got into blind groups on Facebook, and realized that I wasn't alone. More than 70% of the blind population in America, that's blind and vision impaired, is unemployed. And those are pre-COVID numbers. 26% of the blind and vision impaired people in America are living well below the poverty level. Not because they don't want to work, it's just because they can't get work. And I got to looking at it and thinking about it, and I thought, it'd be really nice for these folks if they could afford their own home, or they could afford their medication and their rent, or maybe afford to have a child that isn't born into the welfare system. And most blind folks can't do that. So I started an organization called the North American Association of Blind Sportsmen to help those people and myself along the way get off of the couch, get out of your house, and start living again. That's the goal, is to get brothers and sisters up off the couch and enjoying things that they either used to do or might never have done, but think it might be a cool idea. There's a lot of adaptive technology out there now that wasn't available even 5 years ago. And so we're able to get out in the woods and harvest our own animals. We can catch fish just like anybody else. We can hold a fishing pole just like all the other folks. And I tell you what, life is pretty good. We're out there changing lives and, showing people that there's a different way to live your life. Your life isn't over in the case of catastrophic disability or blindness. You don't have to sit on the couch and die young.
Wow, that's an excellent mission. I know we've seen a lot of veterans that have started groups to help these that have been disabled physically with things, but to be dealing with the vision impairment, that has to be a huge hurdle. I mean, it would be hard for me to envision just, you were saying, cooking. I couldn't imagine trying to go out into the field. Can you give us a sort of an example of a hunt with someone who has limited vision or is totally blind? How does that work? And just so our listeners can sort of put their head around it, how that works out. I know that you say that there's some adaptive things that are now available that helps that be a opportunity, but help walk us through that.
Okay. Let's say you wake up in the morning and you're going hunting that day, so it's early. You get a little bit of chow, drink some coffee, get your clothes on. That's all pretty mundane. Then you hook up with your guide, or what we call your spotter. Okay, and he or she will drive you, walk you, or whatever it takes. Push your wheelchair if you're in a wheelchair, or if you have a tuck vehicle from one of the other companies out there. But we'll get to the blind, or we'll get to the stand, or the spot that we're hunting at, and we'll set up a tripod, and we'll mount the weapon on it, and we'll put the blind or vision impaired hunter right behind it, and then we'll put the spotter right next to them. And we use two different types of scopes. We use a Acufire Noctis V1, and we also use an Omega Sights Little Bo Peep sight. Now, where the reticle would normally be on a scope where you would put your eye to look through it, is either a 3x4 inch screen or a 3x3 inch screen, depending on what you're looking at. And they constantly range, so you know what your distance is if you're using a bow or if you're using a crossbow, something like that. And the person sitting next to you, your spotter, can tell you, okay, because your gun is sitting right up on the tripod, so he's going to tell you left, right, up, down, whatever you need to do when there's an animal that it's legal to harvest, in sight. And when he dials you into where you need to be, and sometimes it's a long process, but when he dials you in where you need to be, you can pull the trigger autonomously. There's nobody holding that gun for you. It's all you. So you get to harvest your own animal.
Cool.
And we'll, after you make your shot, we'll go retrieve the animal. If you're able to, you can go along on that, and you're there while the animal's being processed and transported and all that good stuff. And you get back to camp and you're just another person again. One of the things that is very cool about it, and we can feel the Holy Spirit every time we do it, is not necessarily the hunt, but the camp experience, where we get to mix with other blind or vision impaired people and other sighted people, and we just get to be regular people. I call it the Pinocchio experience, because as blind people in American society, we're expected to be out of the way, off to the side, and they don't want to think about us because it makes them face mortality, because blindness is one of the worst things that can happen to you in most people's mind, short of like cancer or death itself. Okay. So when we're out in public, we're kind of shunned. People move around us. It's one of my pet peeves is when you go to the grocery store, and when they realize that you're blind from the dark glasses and the guide dog or the cane, all of a sudden the families, the women with children and everything in the grocery store will just, they'll glue themselves to the edge of the shelves just to get out of your way, like they don't want to get blindness on them or something. And you can't catch it. That's just one of those things.
Well, they do that to me too, man, but I'm not blind. I just don't want to get stepped on.
Well, I call it the Pinocchio syndrome because in society in general, we're kind of, off to the side, and we're not really a part of society because of, the reasons we talked about. So we're kind of like Pinocchios. And when we get to go to fish camp or we get to go to deer camp, we get to be real boys for the whole time we're there. Nobody cares that we're blind. Nobody looks down on us. Nobody asks us stupid questions or congratulates us for having our shirts buttoned today or our pants zipped. It's kind of a cool thing, and we can feel the Holy Spirit there every time we get out and have an adventure. And it is just amazing to me in that you can come to camp as a blind guy. Give you an idea. We brought a blind gentleman to camp, fishing camp, about a month ago, and he'd been blind for 2 years, hadn't been through any training at all, so he really didn't know how to act or move around or motivate, anything like that. His wife was doing everything for him. And it was just one of those things where it was weird for me that I could look and see that I was much farther down the line in progression on blind skills. But he was really down in the dumps and just, thought his life was over and he was going to spend the rest of his life on the couch or on the computer doing surveys, trying to make a couple bucks. We took him out fishing for 2 days, and he and his wife, I think, caught 4 or 5 steelhead, anywhere from 12 pounds on up to 20 pounds. And, so they had some great stuff to take home with them. And then the camp life was really fun because we got to talk and got to know them. And then my wife was there and my buddy Tom's wife was there. So they were able to talk with this new member's wife and let her know what to expect, or let her know that she's not alone, because it's not easy being married to a blind guy or a blind person. It requires a lot of help sometimes. And he, they finished fishing and we all shook hands and hugged, and they went home. And we got a call about 2 days later from someone who knows that new member. And he had told them that the experience of being out there with us and hanging out with other blind people and being able to do cool things like camping and fishing had given him his life back. He had renewed hope.
Awesome.
He had something in his mind for the future, and that's the goal. Let's build self-confidence. Let's build community. Let's build friendships. But more than anything else, let's build hope. And that's kind of what NABS is about, whether we're hunting or fishing or camping, hiking, mushroom picking, you name it. It's all about hope. And, we've been on TV now for about 7 weeks. We have a show called Adaptive Pursuits TV on the Sportsmen channel.
Uh-huh.
Can I?
You can plug anything you want to.
I can plug it? Okay.
Plug it.
All right. It's on the Sportsman channel at 7:30 p.m. every Friday. You can take a look at it. And if it moves your heart, give us a call or get a hold of us on Facebook or, some kind of social media. We're out there everywhere. We'd love to talk to you.
Cool deal. Yeah, we've put in our show notes the links that you provided for us. So if people want to find out more about that, plus you can plug them as well.
Okay.
What places they can go to find out more about it, or
okay, sure. Our website is called www.nabs.org. That's NAABS.org. And there you'll find our background. You'll find out what we've been doing and what we've got coming up. That's where we advertise our new adventures for members who would like to go on them. On Facebook, you can look us up on the North American Association of Blind Sportsmen, Adaptive Pursuits TV, and the Blind Hunters and Fishermen Support Group. We'd love to hear from you. We really, really would.
So, Lance, you have it where other people can actually contact you to come out and go hunt with you, right?
Yep,
or
you bet.
Go to fish camp or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we post the adventures online and on the website, and then the members pay a $25 lifetime membership fee to become members of the association, and then they go from there to the event page, and they can sign up for any event they want to that they are physically able to complete or attempt. Let's put it that way. We try to take into account what's going on with everybody in matching them up with adventures, because blindness is usually the second thing that happens to you. It's usually the result of something else that happened. Like in my case, it was a stroke. In 30% or more of blindness, it is diabetes that causes it, or an accident or something. So we always have to take into account more than one disability. So it's a little more expensive to do what we do. But the folks making donations and the sponsors from the show are really fantastic. And we can get out there and do these adventures because of them.
Cool. So I assume you're looking for donations and volunteers, maybe places to hunt and fish. Are those the kind of things that you're looking for as a group?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have like local chapters, or is it just a nationwide event and you go to certain areas, or how's that work?
Well, we're all over the country. Right now, we have 3 chapters. We have Washington. I take that back. We have 2 now. We have Washington and New Mexico at this point. We kind of pulled back on that because we didn't have a donation level at the time, about a year ago, that was sufficient to run multiple states like that, because it takes a lot of money. In that no member ever pays to go on an adventure with us. So it's all donations. So we had to kind of scale it back because we were getting really big really fast. And we wanted to make sure that we could still provide adventures and stuff for folks, and that we didn't start using shaky guide services or things like that. We do get a lot of offers for hunts, and I really, really appreciate that. We have to check those out, simply because I have a horror story for you. We have a guy who invited me on a hunt about a year and a half ago in the Midwest, and he says, "Oh yeah, it's all first class. I'll take care of you, man. No problem. Everything's good. You just get here." So I get there, and this guy's in a single wide trailer from about 1945, and there's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong with it is that he's got an outbuilding out there and a cot in it, and that's where I'm sleeping.
Oh,
There's no heat, nothing going on, and I'm like, no, we can't do this. This just isn't going to work. I'm really sorry. So we have to check out the outfitters as well, just to make sure that they're going to be compatible with the type of folks that we bring out.
sure. Yeah, you want it to be a positive experience. You don't want them to freeze to death in a shed, right?
Right. Yeah. It's like taking your kids fishing. When they get bored, it's time to go home.
Right. Yeah.
It's got to be fun for them, because there's nothing more miserable than sitting out there cold and wet and not wanting to be there.
Right.
So we make it as fun as possible, and we celebrate every victory. There's too much of life that goes by, even for the sighted folks and other folks, where we've forgotten to celebrate our successes. And so if we're able to do something that we don't normally do, or if we are successful in our adventure, like we caught a steelhead, or we were able to harvest a buck or a turkey or an elk or whatever it is, those are huge things.
Right.
If that elk is 500 yards up that hill, and it's a really steep hill, and you're a short chubby man like me, it can be a big victory just to make it to the top of that hill. And we celebrate every one of those milestones. We don't let any of them go by without a handshake or a fist bump or something, because it's really important to realize that you're making progress.
Right.
And every little bit of progress that you can stack on top of another one is just that much closer to your goal, and you can feel good about it on the way by celebrating little successes.
Awesome.
It's kind of a cool thing we do.
I'll tell you, I'm a big hunter and fisherman, and I love being outside and outdoors, and there's nothing better than being out there. It's peaceful, it's quiet, it's camaraderie when you're at camp with friends, and you're just sitting around talking, sharing life stories and stuff. And it's not always about harvesting an animal. I enjoy just being out and talking to my buddies and friends, and enjoying nature.
Mm-hmm. Right. Absolutely. I had to retrain one of our cameramen in the field last year. One of our hunters had missed a whitetail buck with a crossbow, and they came back to camp, and the cameraman was like, "Man, we got to get some more footage. We got to do something. We got to get out there. He's got to kill a buck. He's got to put an arrow in one." And I'm like, "No, he doesn't. You have no idea what you're talking about. We're in Indiana, and this guy's from Seattle area. Never been on a plane blind. Never been on a cross country adventure, period, let alone blind and by himself. And part of the adventure that they have to go through is they have to get on the airplane and travel to where the adventure is. So this guy had flown by himself all the way from Seattle to Indiana, negotiated the woods all the way out there to the stand multiple times. He got a shot at a whitetail, and this camera guy's like, yeah, that really sucks. And I'm like, no, it doesn't suck at all, man. That is very, very cool.
That's awesome.
He's a blind dude. He's never done, everything he's done to this point on this adventure is firsts.
Mm-hmm.
And he did them on his own, and he got the opportunity to put an arrow in a deer. It doesn't get much better than that. I mean, you could be eating backstrap for dinner tonight. That would be cool. But the opportunity and to be able to take advantage of that opportunity is huge, because we never get to do stuff like that. There's nobody out there that specializes in working with blind people except for NABS.
Cool. Man, it's been great to have you on and hear your passion and this great mission that you've got. Anything else that you'd like to share with us tonight? Any other links or anything coming up that you want to promote?
Hey, folks, if you'd like to make a donation or become a member, please go to www.naab.org and make a donation or join up. We would love to see you out in the woods, love to see you out on the water. And this has been a terrific experience. Thanks, guys, for having me on. And to you blind folks and to you sighted folks out there, may God bless your back trail. Thanks for the opportunity to tell my story.
Hey, Lance, thanks for coming on.
Lance.
Appreciate it. Guys. You have a great night.
You too. Take care.
All right. Well, I appreciate Lance coming on and tell us all about that North American Association of Blind Sportsmen. That's cool, man. That is.
It is.
Yeah, we might have to try to see if you can guide some guys down that way or something. Maybe be able to set something up for a pig hunt or something.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do it. And I've actually watched it. I didn't know it was Lance at the time till you said it, but I've actually watched that show on the Sportsman's channel. So.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's a great ministry, man. I tell you, people that don't have the opportunity to get out and enjoy the things that we grew up doing. I guess sometimes we take it for granted that we can do it. I just can't imagine, being vision impaired and getting the opportunity to go out and do something like that. And like you said, harvest your own animal for the very first time. And I always enjoy seeing, anytime I can take somebody new to the woods and get them started hunting or fishing or something that they've never had that experience. It's something they remember forever. And I don't know, it builds memories with them. And I enjoy seeing the expression on their face when they get to see something or get to shoot something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like taking people to the range. I do the same thing with that, not necessarily hunting and fishing, but hey, and you're going to the range one weekend, invite somebody to go with you that normally doesn't have the opportunity to do that. You might change somebody's mind about, firearms or take them hunting. You never know when you're going to plant that seed.
Cool. Yep. Well, we were getting on with the show. We're going to be here all night. Let's see, where were we at? After Lance, we're going to be coming up to your guide and gun activities. What have you been doing the last week?
Let's see. God said Sportsman's Daily Devotional, and I've been doing a friend of mine. He's a pastor at Southside Baptist Church, which is here in Warner Robins. He sends out a daily devotional that we get through the hospital now since COVID, especially, has been going. But he does one, and I enjoy reading his stuff every week. So it's really good. Gun side, of course, I've been doing my everyday carry, and it has gotten. I carried a little more stuff with me lately with stuff going on. So
yeah, everybody has.
Yeah. So you never know, man. So I keep a little something with me wherever I'm at, and make sure I got a little backup. So I did a little pig hunt last night. We've been getting a pig coming in. I've been trying to get him for, I don't know, several weeks, and he is now affectionately known as Lucky. He has got
He's got 3 legs and missing an eye.
no, he's got everything, and he is just he's lucky. I actually pulled a trigger on him last night, and I thought I had him, and I don't know if I was on the shooting stick. I wasn't in the stand. I hadn't even got there yet, and he was already under the feeder when I tried to sneak in to get him. And I don't know if I moved just a little bit just as I pulled the trigger. The video looks like I whacked him, but he turned and took off, and we didn't find anything. And then about 4:00 in the morning, I got a picture from one of my spy cameras where he was at initially, and he was standing back in the grass. He didn't come out there, but I got a picture of him standing in the grass, kind of looking like, should I try that again? I don't think so. And he took off. So it was kind of cool. But did that. I was down in Panama City Beach this past weekend. Took the wife for her birthday. That's what she wanted to do. So we went down and spent.
She turned 29 again?
What's that?
She turned 29 again?
She did. She got a few years of experience, but she had a good birthday, I think. And so we went down, and I'm actually in a couple of weeks, I'm heading up to Gatlinburg. Actually going to meet my little brother up there and his family, and we're going to hang out in Gatlinburg for the weekend. So
I hung out with your brother yesterday.
I heard he's actually on here tonight.
I saw that. Yeah, we was catching up a little bit. Yeah, there he is, John Boy.
Johnny. So he is on here. So, when we were talking to Lance a second ago, Ron chimed in. I'm looking at some of the comments and posts and stuff over here, and Ron said that I took him hunting a few weeks ago for his very first time he'd ever been hunting, and I took him on a night hog hunt. So he was actually able to pull the trigger, and we got one, and so he got some meat for the freezer, and I think he had a good time. I think he said he had he'll never forget that feeling.
That's cool.
Hey, we also got a new listener on with us tonight, too. So Wendy and I were in Panama City, and we stopped in at Gun Depot USA there in Panama City. And I've been in there 2 or 3 times. I got to talk to the owner some, and we were sitting back talking. And I started talking about the podcast and this and that, and I gave him the link and where he could go. And he is actually on tonight watching with us. So
I see that.
Glad to have you on with us.
Awesome.
What you been up to?
Well, daily Bible reading. Of course, the morning Bible, I guess you call it devotional and prayer time. It used to be called prayer and fasting, but I was told I was supposed to fast in secret, so I have to tell y'all. I can't tell y'all I'm fasting, but it's on Mondays and Thursdays if you want to know. So we've been doing that now. This finishing up week 18. So man, it's going to be close to half a year before long here. Episode 88. I missed one on Tuesday. I had to run the parents to the doctors in Louisville on Tuesday. And by the time I got back, it was late afternoon. And so I didn't think a morning devotional would work at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we lost that one. But other than that, it's been pretty good. Had church security Sunday. I'd been off for a couple of weeks, and because we had some guys that stepped up and took the security room detail, so I could have some time with my family on vacation. But I was back in there this Sunday, and then let's see, on the gun side, I have been loading some more 9mm. I got in that big shipment of Barry's 124 grain 9mm bullets, so I've been putting those together. I got my Lyman reloading manual and got my load data out, so I knew how much powder. I'm running some power pistol, and I'm putting in about 5.2 grains of powder to those 124 grains bullets, and we're in my first batch, so I'm going to try to shoot them sometime next couple of days and see how they do. If they do well, then I'll probably go with that. I've got a couple loads. I've got one at like 5.2, and I got another one at like 5.4. I think the max on that is like 5.7 grains for 124 grain bullet. So we'll see how they do, how they shoot out of the I got a couple Glock 19s and a Glock 17, and we'll see how they shoot out of those things. And I still got all those 147 grain bullets. I need to be shooting some steel with those. That'd be some loud thuds. So that's pretty much on the gun side. Other than daily carry everywhere. I carry a AR pistol in my truck all the time. And so when I went to Louisville, I throw a go bag in there, which has my all my battle rattle, and it's just all one nice Maxpedition bag. It's a big duffel, and just toss it in there with my comms and everything. So should we have any trouble, we'll be ready to rock and roll. EDC check. What are you carrying tonight, Doug?
EDC check, man. I got let's see. I got my usual suspect. Got my Glock 19 with my student of the gun night vision sights on it that I love. And hey, I actually got Puff 2.0 with me tonight, so I brought it out of the house, and he come out here with me. I was out running around earlier in the truck, so I had my truck gun with me. So that's what I got. What about you? I got a knife or something, extra mag.
Yeah. So usual suspect for me is a Glock 30S, which is the 45 compact with a single stack slide. So it's a little bit more narrow than the 30. Running, I got Trijicon HD sights on that, and they serve me well. And Surefire XC1 weapon light, and then run the Microtech SOCOM auto folder, and I run a Surefire. I forgot what model this thing is. Maybe I have an ED2 Defender light. I love this little thing. I've got a little pocket on the side, and that dude's bright. I can hit the barns from. It's probably a quarter mile to the barns. I can light the barns up with enough to see if there's anybody standing over there. Well, when the corn's not as high as it is, but that's pretty much what I got. Of course, I got a blowout kit and the usual suspects. So, well, let's get the EDC stuff done. What are we got for a joke over there today?
So I got one. I got one called Hot Air. It says, my pastor friend put sanitary hot air hand dryers in the restrooms at his church, and after 2 weeks took them out. I asked him why, and he confessed that they worked fine, but when he went in there, he saw a sign that read, "For a sample of this week's sermon, push the button." Yank them out.
Woo! All right, so we're going to jump over the Bible verses tonight. We're going to be on 2 Corinthians 5. Let me put them up there where you guys can see them. Our heavenly dwelling is the title under the ESV version. For we know that, pop up here where I can see it. For we know that if the tent that is our earthly home is destroyed, we have a building from God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. For in this tent we groan, longing to put on our heavenly dwelling. If indeed by putting it on we may not be found naked. Boy, it's been a long day. For while we were still in this tent, we groan, being burdened, not that we would be unclothed, but that we would be further clothed, so that what is more mortal may be swallowed up by life. He who has prepared us for this very thing is God, who has given us the Spirit as a guarantee. So we are always of good courage. We know that while we are at home in the body, we are away from the Lord. For we walk by faith and not by sight. Yes, we are of good courage, and we'd rather be away from the body and at home with the Lord. So whether we are at home or away, we make it our aim to please him. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that no one may receive what is due for what he has done in the body, whether good or evil. So what are all those verses about? Well, it's about focusing on our eternal resting place, our eternal home, not our forever home, as some of these people are talking about on some of these shows now. Well, you're not on there. What is going on? Well, I guess I have to do it that way. So we're focused on our future home, right? We still, while we're living in this temporal body, while we're living in this tent, right? This dwelling place, which won't last. It will fail. It will, like a tent, it will eventually wear out and it'll have to be replaced. And we'll have an eternal body that won't have to be replaced, that we'll be inheriting. And so we need to remember that we don't walk by what we can see. Our physical body, is failing and wasting away, but yet we know that we have a heavenly body by faith that we will be getting. And so we need to not worry and not be unduly burdened by the fact that this body fails, because we've got something a whole lot better coming. And so it's important that we make sure that we don't get wrapped up in the things of this world and the aches, the pains, as I get older, I find more pains every day. I don't know about you, Doug, but I can just be sitting in a couch or sitting on a chair and get injured.
Oh, yeah.
And you get up and you go walking across the room and you're like, what happened? And all of a sudden you can't walk and you're staggering around like, what was that about? And then 5 minutes later, it's gone. Like, what was that? And then sometimes you're just eating. All of a sudden you have this weird pain in your jaw. And like, what was that? And then it goes away. And like, your body's failing. It will fail. The older you get, the more pains you get, the more aches, the more creaks. I'll get in bed at night, and when I stretch, it sounds like somebody's breaking stuff. It's like crack, pop. You hear all the joints crackling and popping, and the wife's over there cringing, like, stop doing that. I'm like, I'm trying to loosen up so I can go to sleep.
Right.
It's just, this body's it ain't made for long periods of time. It's made for maybe a maximum of 120 years, but on average for American, 72?
Yeah.
For a Southerner, maybe 62. So, we only got so many years with this body. It's a temporal, as it's talking about a tent, right? It's for a period of time, and then it's going to be gone. And we're going to have an eternal life, and we just need to make sure that we're not trying to walk through this life about what we can see, but about what the God's promise was, right? About our faith, that Jesus was that propitiation for our sins, and we have an eternal resting place that he's gone and prepared for us. And so that's just the good news tonight that we are going to share with you guys. 2 Corinthians 5 verses 1 down through 10. Doug, you want to plug in on that?
No, you got it covered pretty good.
All right. We're going to pull them verses down and move on to the next thing, which is... We've done the main topic. Let me close. I got so many windows open, I can't find nothing. Let me close this window. I tell you what, it's hard for an old man to learn new tricks. I can tell you that. Oh, how can you help out the show? Man, this show's, I guess it's moving along pretty quick. John over there giving some sage advice, man.
He is.
He's over there throwing out some nuggets. John had surrendered to the ministry, and he has got some eloquent things over here to talk about.
He does.
All right, so patches and stickers. You can help out our show by buying patches and stickers. They look like that, and you can find those over on Facebook. We got still over on Facebook, unless they took it down again. They've taken it down like 25 times this year alone, and I have to keep reattaching it. And they keep taking it down, so. If it's not there, you guys can just email me at TroyGodGuts Podcast, and we'll make it work. Also, you can do what? Let's see. Oh, we want to thank Oath Keepers TV for broadcasting our show over there. They have got Oath Keepers TV. They got Oath Keepers on Roku and Apple and Chromecast and all kinds of different sites. So check those out over on Oath Keepers. If you're not a member of Oath Keepers, go to oathkeepers.org and check it out and see if it's something kind of mission that you'd like to support. And if you were former military, police, first responder, anyone sworn an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States, that would be your organization. So
it would be.
check it out, become a member. It's not very much a year, or you become a life member like I did 7 years ago or something now. Also, who else we want to thank, Doug?
Axelson Tactical. Hey, you've heard Troy and I talk about it. I got an Axelson. Troy has an Axelson. They are tack driving machines. And right now I have that new thermal mounted on mine. And of course, it was not the gun's fault from the shooting last night. The reason I didn't get a pig. It was the shooter, not the gun. So if you want a tack driving rifle, go check our buddies out. They make custom rifles, custom pistols, knives. They have stores. They got awesome t-shirts and stuff if you want to go out and look at them on there too. But it's axelsonusa.com. Use a promo code God and Guns, and they will give you a 10% discount for just checking out and listening to the show. Also, Palmetto State Armory, if you're putting together your next truck gun like Troy and I have, or your next long gun, or you're looking for parts, barrels, good luck finding them. But Palmetto State usually has stuff. You got to, when it comes out on the daily deal and they advertise it, you better get it quick because it's going to be gone.
You better be in there like 30 seconds.
Did you see on their site today on the daily deal, they had an AR. It was an older school. It looked kind of like your bunker gun.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it had the round grip on the front with the post front sight on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it had the Blade Tech stock, but it wasn't the standard Blade Tech. It kind of a curved on the back side of it a little bit.
Huh.
But it was really cool, and it was only don't hold me to this, $349, I think is what they were advertising it.
Cool.
I was like, man, you put a $60 lower on that bad boy, and it was the entire kit. It was a pistol kit. Yeah. And you got a gun for under $400, so you can't go wrong there. But
no, especially right now.
Especially right now. But anyway, go check our buddies out. Use our promo code, or not our promo code. We don't have a promo code there. That you don't get a discount, but everything that goes through our affiliate site to Palmetto State, they send us a little bit of money back to help us bring the show. So go check them out at palmettostatearmory.com.
You can find that link in our show notes as well.
Yeah.
Armed Citizen of the Week. What we got? Oh, you got double one again.
Yeah, I got two because
hey, before we get into that, up at Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Go for it.
I talked about it a little bit this morning on the prayer thing. You got a 17-year-old kid. I mean, if it was wartime and there was a draft, they would take him, But you got a 17-year-old with an AR, and he's there as a medic, and we don't know all the details yet. So I'm not going to take a stand on anything here. But what I want to talk about is a 17-year-old man, young man, that came from Illinois into Wisconsin to help defend the property of this car lot. And there was a bunch of other guys with him. And then all of a sudden, this guy finds himself alone, face to face with a crowd, which attacks, and he is forced to shoot one of them. He calls for 911. This is what I'm going by the timeline here. He calls for 911, goes to render aid. They start to attack him again. He flees, is running down the street towards the police barricade down there to try to get out of there and do whatever, to save his life or not having more confrontation. He's attacked, knocked to the ground by a guy with a skateboard, or he trips or whatever, that gets attacked, turns around, blasts that dude, and turns, and there's another guy with a pistol drawn up on him, and he blasts that guy in the arm. There's two different feelings I have, but I feel horrible for the kid that he had to shoot somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible. I mean, his life is no longer the same. Ever will ever be the same. Whether it was all justified or whether it was not justified, I'm not taking a stance to say that he was justified, not justified, because we don't know all the details yet. We've seen videos and things like that. And we're not saying it was right or wrong. I do think that the last part there where he was being attacked while on the ground, I think that was self-defense.
Yeah.
People won't will argue that. But the point is that if you're going to be putting yourself in that kind of situation, you need to have your mindset squared away that you're okay sacrificing your life, and that might mean the rest of your life in jail for the principles by which you stand on.
Yep.
And you need to have your mindset set that you're not going to be goaded into a fight, that you're going to, you have a purpose and you will not cross that line should you become under attack. The mindset is very important, and I don't think enough people take that into consideration. This young guy, I mean, I feel for him. It's a horrible situation, but the least thing we can do for this guy is pray for him, pray for his family, because apparently the police department has released out where he lives at, and so his family is now getting death threats, and they've had to leave their location. Yeah, there's a whole lot going on there. There was another supposed medic, and so I'm not going to get into the details of that. But Doug, anything you want to talk about that? It's just important that we know that you need to know your mindset before you walk into that kind of situation. I mean, he took out 3 guys, and he's 17 years old. 2 of them were convicts. One of them was a sexual predator. Had some kind of child sex charges. Another one was some kind of multiple felon with a gun. And his gun is in his hand as he's screaming for medic and cussing his head off.
Yeah, and the police. Somebody get the police. Call 911.
Mm-hmm.
But that kid refrained pretty well. I've watched the video, looked at it, and when he was on the ground, he shot the one guy, but he turned at the one that he shot in the arm, the one that was holding the gun.
Right.
And he swung, as he's sitting, he swung the gun around on him, and he didn't shoot him. He stopped. The guy stopped.
Yep.
For a second. And then he decided he was going to go ahead and try to jump him. That's when he got shot. But that kid could have shot him, 3 or 4 times. Got there, but he didn't.
Yeah, there was a lot of people around him that could have been a perceived threat. He withheld, only shot the one with the gun, the only one that's beating him about the head with a skateboard.
Yep.
So I mean, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just the situation as it played out, and the message this morning from the prayer and I don't know what we're gonna call that thing, prayer and devotional time. My encouragement is to understand that we are in a spiritual war, and that there's we're in a spiritual war, and then you have to understand that the devil's going to try to do anything he can to draw out the flesh man, right? The man who gets angry, the man who wants to get justice and wants to take vengeance, right? That part of us we have to fight against as believers, because we have to die to what our flesh wants to do, and we have to live as God has called us to live. And there is a difference. And we need to make sure that we are walking by faith, and we're not walking in our flesh, and we're not acting in our flesh, because the whole thing that they want, the whole thing that these communist Marxist people want, and there wasn't no black people that got shot last night, the night before last, where it was. There was white communists or crooks that were there for riots and looting. That had nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. They had to do with people who were anarchists or communists that wanted to use it to destroy, kill, steal, and destroy. The devil's 3 favorite things. So you have to realize that these people want to goad you into that. So you have to, if you're going to go and defend property, if you're going to go and be a counter protester, you're going to have to be prepared to know where the line is. Especially as a believer, you need to know, okay, am I honoring God with what's going on? Am I acting out in the flesh, or am I acting out by how I'm called to act out as a believer, as a person who is supposed to be salt and light in the world? Defending yourself is fine. That biblically is supported. We've talked about that on multiple episodes.
Yeah.
But going out and causing an incident or pushing it to, it takes 2 people to tango, right? It takes 2 people to have an actual fight. You might have somebody that knocks you in the head, blindsides you, that's one thing. Then you defending. But if you are pushing against each other, you're going to escalate, right? And so the devil wants to draw you out, and so does these communists. They want an incident so that they can claim that they are no different, or that they have the right to attack fascists, right? So just realize that don't become a pawn in the enemy's game. Look at it, analyze it, make wise choices, and make sure that you got your mindset right. Because if you go into a conflict like that with a gun, most likely you're going to end up maybe having to use it. So that's just my encouragement for our listeners, because it's a very emotional thing, all this going on. When I watch these videos, my flesh is like, yeah, well, no, it's like when you watch a really aggressive movie, and as a man, I mean, my body tenses up, right? And you get emotionally involved in this stuff. You got to back off and realize that people are trying to manipulate you, and the devil himself is.
Somebody asked me today, they're like, well, why was a 17-year-old there anyway?
Because nobody else showed up.
Yeah, with a gun. I'm like, well, why was a convicted felon there with a gun?
Right.
Yeah.
And why were they there with gas bombs and beating people over the hill with skateboards and stuff? Where were the cops at? Every one of these instances you see, like the people in St. Louis, there was no police there to protect those people. They had to defend themselves. There was no police there to defend this young man or to defend that car lot that he was at. I mean, whether or not it was a wise thing to put your life on the line, the rest of your life on the line for a car lot, I don't know. I mean, he made that decision. But the thing is that you get criminals going to burn the thing down, and nobody that's paid to do it was there, right?
Yeah, this same person I was talking to today, they're like, well, I don't understand why they needed to be there, with guns and stuff like that to start with, because it was just peaceful protesters. No, it's not. Peaceful protesters don't burn down people's businesses and their livelihood. They don't take whatever and crush windshields on cars and destroy them, and arson. And I mean, they'll shoot somebody in a second. Don't think twice about it.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. Sorry. Just wanted to bring that up because we didn't really, I mean, it happened since our last show, and it just sort of slipped my mind until we talked about the armed citizen. So go ahead and jump back into the armed citizen unless you want to talk any more about that.
Nah, we covered that one. This week's armed citizen, I got two of them for you. One of them is from July the 28th in Dalton, Georgia. Truck driver used his firearm to protect himself from 4 would-be robbers who accosted him at a truck stop. The robbers approached the truck driver about buying tires, police said, then tried to hold him down while taking his money. The driver was able to grab his handgun and fire at the assailants, who immediately ran. The driver wasn't harmed, and the police later arrested one suspect. Also on July the 30th, in Troy, New York, an off-duty police officer came to the neighbor's aid when her estranged husband attacked her, using his personal shotgun to kill the man as he stabbed her. Police said that they had received multiple emergency calls related to the stabbing, but it was the armed off-duty neighbor, not on-duty officers, who heard the woman scream and quickly intervened to save her life.
And that's not likely to happen very often. As the old saying go, when you need the police, they're only minutes away, right?
Right.
So that pretty much is the armed citizen of the week. You got anything else you want to talk about tonight? We got lots of comments over here on the side. You guys are active. I appreciate you guys chiming in and commenting. It helps us stay on point.
I don't know. I just think you're going to start seeing more of the very same thing with that 17-year-old. That people are just getting tired of the nonsense,
right,
and the anarchy that's going on, and people just trying to divide the country. If you don't like this country and you think it's better to be a socialist or whatever it is you want to be, they got countries that got it. Go there.
Go
Get
Venezuela.
out.
Go
You know,
Mexico.
and if you fled a crap country because of what it was like, and you come here, don't try to change this country into what you fled.
Yeah, some people only feel comfortable, if they're attacking everybody.
It's amazing to me. I hate to get political because I'll get wound up here in a minute. And
I can pull a plug if you get too far in.
well, I mean, I've calmed down mostly for today, but
you got something attacking you?
I do. I got a little bug or something in here, man. It's just wearing me out. But the liberal media and politicians and the left, I don't understand why they can't call what's going on what it is. It's rioting, looting, stealing, vandalism, and murder. A lot of things, but they continually say, "Oh, it's just peaceful protesters."
The background's burning in there.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to let them get it out of their system. Really? Why do you got to let it get out of their system?
Because they don't know how to lead.
No.
They don't know how to make hard choices.
They're not going to change it until the election. I can tell you that right now. And then depending on who wins, whether or not they stop it then.
I don't think it matters who wins. I think you're going to have horrific riots. Now, if the Democrats are definitely... So we could know something right here because the polls came out and they're not good for the Democrats with all this stuff going on, this riot stuff.
Right.
Even the Democrats say, our polls aren't coming out very good with all this riot stuff. They said that. So if you see the stuff stop, all of a sudden, all the rioters disappear, the looting goes away, we know who's in charge of the rioters, right?
Right.
If you see it continue on, you know that they fed the monster too long, and the monster is going to take off on its own now, and now they're going to have to fight their own creation, right? So watch and see if all of a sudden all these protests go away and everything fades back into sort of a normal thing. I mean, I'm sure you're going to have isolated incidents, but if you see it all fade back away, you know who's pulling the purse strings. It's the Democratic National Convention that it's paying for this through their minions or whatever. If you see it fade away, you'll know that they're a criminal organization using thug tactics to try to scare people. If it's backfired on them, they pull it, you know where it's coming from. And if you see it continue on, then you know they lost control of it. They spun it up and turned it up, and then they walked away from it, right? All right, we're going to wrap this puppy up. Send your feedback to Troy at GuidingGunsPodcast.com or
Doug at GuidingGunsPodcast.com.
Please tell your friends about us. Leave us an iTunes review. I meant to check those over there, but I could never get to the actual reviews. I got to the one page. Like us on Facebook, as long as that lasts. Facebook.com/GuidingGunsPodcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube, as long as that lasts. And you can follow us on Twitter. I don't do much on Twitter. I've pretty much just gone Parler all the way because I'm tired of being censored and shadow banned and blocked and all that stuff. You can find us over on Instagram for now and MeWe. And MeWe's over backup. It's not really a big active site, but I just keep a presence over there in case we get killed off of the big channels. We've got a place you guys can find us. And our website is GuidingGunsPodcast.com, and maybe before duck season, Doug will have an opportunity.
Which is in 86 more days, by the way.
So you got a window of opportunity. Maybe slide in there and get that sucker fixed. All right, Doug, have a blessed week. Until next time, have a blessed week.
And keep your guns close, but keep your Bibles closer.
Good night, y'all. Good night, John.
Good night, everybody.
Kelly.
Hey, so over on YouTube, Rando Cal told us that we needed to make a subscribe star account. He said it's a Patreon alternative.
Cool.
I tell you, we had a Patreon at one time. We got kicked off of it.
Yeah, they took our money and kicked us off. Because I guess God or guns or both. I don't know which. All right, guys, we're going to shut her down for the night.